Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Johnny B.
I'm Brush and Quill.
And I'm Duncan FX.
But together we are
Beautiful sound. All right, let's quickly catch up with everybody in the chat. We have got Rich John here, nice and early. We got Nick from Team Clueless Games. We got Subs here. You got a drinking game on tonight, Subs? Alid bringing up the Welsh Brigade there. Tony Halton, Gary Saffron 69, our friend of General Haig, and Battle Knights. There's Jason. Hello, Jason. Alid Roberts says, I'm trying to get to grips using contrast paints. They seem good, but I think I have to get used to the way they work. Yeah, it is a new skill, absolutely. And Ricky Turner is here too. So, what are we up to hobby-wise tonight? I've got a bit of a meze. I'm gonna put a base coat of Middlestone on this Flames of War Panther. I am slowly working on these Sigmarines, adding some magenta at the moment. As you can see, it's going on very thin.
Wow.
And I have a Flames of War vehicle crew sprue, which I was hoping to get some flesh on. But it turns out John left the lid open on my Cadian flesh tone. So I
deliberately.
won't be doing that. Maliciously. What a prick.
Maliciously and deliberately.
What about you, John?
What am I doing? What am I doing tonight? I just bought a massive haul of old Hammer stuff because I'm an idiot. With such wonderful gems as the Screamer Killer of old and a couple of RT Rumblers.
Oh, beautiful.
And a full battle wagon. Oh, it's in bits at the moment, but it's got all the bits. You remember these? Oh, beautiful. Dreadnoughts. So I'm sorting through the Tyrannid contingent at the moment, as I will likely palm them off onto my brother. That's what I'm going to do. Mr. Brush, what are you doing tonight?
I'm going to start off on some Napoleonic backpacks.
Ooh. Are these for Dirty French?
No, they're from noble and beautiful redcoats.
Oh, really? Exciting.
Yes. And there is a sneaky French one in there. So, yeah, that's what I'll do. And then I've got some other stuff if I finish these.
Awesome. Mr. FX, do you have any hobbying in front of you, sir?
I do. I'm taking a break from Kaiser's 1914 commission that I'm up to. And then itching for some bolt action. So
I love
getting the Ruined Hamlet started.
The Ruined Hamlet.
Standard template construction. I see that you've built there.
Yeah, and I got it wrong. Of course, everyone does first time.
I don't know if you can get it wrong. It's an odd kit. You got to do some right filing and sanding to make it work. But anyways, in between now and when you show us the wonderful things, would you mind telling our beautiful viewers who you are and what you do?
So I'm Duncan FX. I have a channel called DuncanFX. It's a general hobby channel. Covers lots of things from bolt action, lots of 10mm projects, lots of group builds, various things. Commissions at the moment. I'm doing a 1914 World War I project for the Kaiser, which is on there.
Beautiful.
And that's those Great Escape Games video.
That's right.
Miniatures, yeah. If you're at all interested in that, Duncan's put a sort of a review video up, haven't you, of the British?
Yeah, just a kind of quick overview of what's in that box, because the sculpts are really nice for 12mm. Lots of detail in there.
They really are. They really are very nice sculpts. Yeah, we saw them at Selwig and look at the miniatures and like, these are great. I'm going to get this.
And it's your favourite period.
The First World War. It is. It is. So the First World War is obviously people are left with this perception of the First World War because of war poets that they had to read in school, and some of the kind of iconic art. And there's an impression out there among the British population and about the rest of the world, that every morning junior officers get up, blow whistles, thousands of men dive over the top and get machine gunned by Germans.
Yeah, mate, in the mud and the trenches.
And we did that for 4 years, and then miraculously we won.
Fact.
It's like there's there's absolutely no denying that the first day of the Battle of the Somme, with 20,000 dead and 38,000 casualties, was horrific, absolutely horrific, and something had gone horribly wrong. First question to ask yourself, though, is if that was day one in a battle that lasted several months, what happened on day two? About 6,000 casualties. That's learning a lot quicker than any story of the First World War that's presented in popular history, right?
It's actually a good documentary about that on YouTube. There's a video like what everyone gets wrong about the Somme.
Yeah. Erich von Ludendorff described the Battle of the Somme as the muddy grave of the German army. And a historian called John Terrain was quite the Field Marshal Haig apologist, did a lot of work in the 80s to basically, reclaim General Haig's reputation. Now, the man was still a butcher. There's no doubt about that, but he was asked to be the butcher.
Right.
Was the job he was given. You know, who's responsible for continuing the war? Is it the generals or is it the politicians? Anybody could have given up at any point, right?
Yeah, well, not really.
No. So we'll come back to Allah's contrast paints thing in a minute. So Ricky Turner, Tony Holton, two twins on the bottom row. I mean, there is a certain likeness there, isn't there?
It is actually, yeah.
Yeah, I'm rejoining the Beard crew. Miniatures contrast vehicles, no. Yeah, I don't know nearly as much as others, but I think contrast works well the more there is on the model to work with, like muscle tone, fabrics, those kind of things. Flat places, not so much. Greg Finch has joined us. Matt Capelli, howdy, good people. Have a great show. Catch you in the rerun. Oh my God, Dreadnought! Look at that, John. Show me the Dreadnought again. Go on. The pot belly.
Dreadnought. I've actually got two. I've got one with the two fists, and I got one with the Dildar rocket launcher.
Pew pew. That's what sci-fi looked like in the 80s, right?
Oh yeah.
Brush, do you paint all the bits then build? Certain design. I'm not sure what that means.
It means
or do you paint part assembly, or do you put it together? And
it depends on various different bits. So I paint the backpack separate on these guys so that I can get in and add extra strapping on the back.
Right.
With paint.
Yes.
Just so that the strapping actually goes under the rucksack and looks like it's supporting it, whereas if you try to paint it, you end up with a bit of a line between the pack and the end of the strap.
Yes, yes. So the questions come specifically because you're painting the pack separately. It makes sense to me now. I'm not like some of these people who do, they paint the entire thing on the sprue, arms and heads separate and everything. Yeah. So there's a couple of things there, isn't there? One is sub assemblies. So John, where do you figure with sub assemblies and painting?
Do you know, I rarely do sub assemblies unless it's going to be really on some of the crazy models. What was there one? There was one you had me do. One of the Plague Marine dudes. I think it was a Terminator dude, and he had this sort of crazy flowing flesh cape. And I really wish I'd left that off before. I don't know if I painted it or
I
at least glued it together. But
that was the new Lord of Contagion with the flame.
Yeah,
with the flame.
It was crazy. I didn't paint it, did I? I just glued it together. But I really wish I'd left some of the parts off. No, I'm not doing it.
You did a build video on it, so I think you couldn't really leave it off.
Oh, true. I don't really do it, but I can see the merit of doing it. As Callum says, getting the straps behind the backpack and doing certain bits like that. But I can't say I really do it. I just go all in. Not that I paint, but if I did.
I cut, so on these backpacks, on both the French and the British, the cartridge case comes molded to the pack.
Mm.
So I cut that off and glue it on to the figure, so that it actually sits in the proper place. Because otherwise, it's sort of floating
Right.
off the pack and not on the strap that's meant to be holding it. But I don't generally do sub-assemblies.
No, it's just a very niche case there. What about you, Duncan? Where are you with sub-assemblies?
No, not at all. I kind of build everything, get it all in one piece, just prime it and paint from there.
Yeah.
Boosh. Done.
Yeah. It's for me. It's very similar. I have occasionally, like Callum said, there may be some very niche things. I mean, for example, right? If I paint the turret and the hull separately, is that a sub-assembly? Because I definitely do, but that's because I don't want the turret to stick to the paint, stick the turret to the hull.
What about shields? They're the classic thing. They cover up
Yeah,
so much.
I don't. I mean, I'm a big believer. I don't paint the underneath the tanks and stuff. You can't see it while you're painting it. But I do often think to myself afterwards with projects that I really should have left this bit off and painted it separately. And I would have found it easier. But I tend to want to have the stage complete. It's almost like milestone, isn't it? So I usually actually even put my basing material on before I prime, because I know that as well as the glue, that paint is going to help putting some paint on the base on top of the material is going to stop more of it falling off while I'm painting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hate having to put basing material on later and carefully do it around the feet.
Yeah,
I'd rather paint carefully, rather be rough with the basing material and then repaint the feet bit later as part of the painting process.
I'm just looking at my figures, and I've just realised that actually, like 90% of my collection, probably like 95% of my collection, is single piece metals. So
yeah.
Wow, no sub-assemblies there.
Yeah.
Lack of beard disturbing. Ooh.
Norris beards, it's like an anthem manscaping. Are you saying the beards are bad, Jason? I mean, what's Oh, Roxy the Riveter in the house. Show the vintage battle wagon, John. She might have missed it. She joined a bit later. So tell us about this haul of junk that you've got then, John.
I'm sure it's quality goods, mate. I got contacted by somebody I know. He said, "Oh, this shady man's got a whole bag of stuff that you should really, you might be interested in." I saw some pictures and I was like, "Yep, got to get me that." There's a battle wagon. It is complete. It is not at the very moment. The wheels are off, but I do have the wheels. I've been after one of these for years.
Right.
Couple of RT rumblers. Oh, beautiful.
I'd forgotten how squat they were.
Yeah, they're pretty grim. And I'm just sorting through a load of Tyranid 2nd edition Tyranid models, including my favourite, Screamer Killer. This thing gave me nightmares as a child. My brother used to just beat me up with it. Not literally. He didn't like put it in a sock and then beat me with it, but that would have hurt a lot.
Has this morphed into something else now then, or is it just doesn't exist? Or
that is a Carnifex, sir.
That's a Carnifex now. Right.
That is a Carnifex, the old Screamer Killer. Yeah.
Did they bring it back when they brought back the different types of Carnifexes or something?
They did, as a nod to it, yeah. They called it a Screamer Killer.
Das Boot Zoom meeting on account of the beard. You gotta say, I'm enjoying. Was watching on your Facebook stream. Yeah. Oh my God, Kaiser, you shaved. Oh, Roxanne, Fred, you missed it. I don't know how you'd feel about it. It was World Book Day last week, and for World Book Day, as I am a school librarian, I usually, not just dress up as a character, but I drag up. And this year I was Pippi Longstocking, and as a result of that, I had to shave my beard and hair to get the ginger wig on.
Glorious.
But it's coming back. It's coming back. The weirdest part about it is I keep reaching for a hairbrush. It's like there's nothing to brush, Michael. There's nothing there. It's all gone. Friends of General Higgs says Lloyd George, it's all his fault. That's the First World War reference for you. Yeah.
Will he never?
So, in terms of contrast paints, then, because Alad's brought it up, and he's a regular sort of chap. What's your experience as a contrast paints? Any tips? Do you use them? I mean, some people paint almost exclusively with them now. John.
Yeah, you're correct there. A good example of painting exclusively with them, or at least for some, the best part was Seventh Son. He does quite a lot of complete contrast, and you can get good effects. Sorry,
he does some really nice work.
Yeah, does some glorious work with it, but he knows when to stop. Yeah,
so that's why he started his channel, was to show.
That was the main thing, wasn't it?
Tutorials on contrast paints.
I don't know. I've bought fully into it. I'm completely into contrast paints. I have all of the colours. Do I use them as much as I thought I would? No. I still find the old method: base colour, wash, highlight back up, maybe 2 stages, maybe 3 stages. It's just in the blood, I guess. But I do cheat sometimes with contrast on things that I can.
You regard it as cheating?
Wouldn't save. Sorry?
You regard it as cheating?
I do, but it's not. I think it's a glorious thing, especially for new painters, or those that really don't have time but are not particularly fussed about the end result. They look all right, but they got some competition now, right? They got speed paints from Army Painter, which I'm hearing some interesting reviews about them.
Go on.
They reactivate. So with contrast, you can paint them on. I find contrast paints do rub off, so don't thumb them as much as you can. If you can avoid doing that, great. But they dry pretty quick, and you can go back over them if you need to either, if you've missed a spot or you want to highlight, you can pretty much get in there straight away. The speed paints, however, you've got to leave a good sort of, from what I've read so far, 24 hours before you can go back and put either a touch-up spot on it or a different color highlight.
Really?
Because it just reactivates the pigments in it. Okay, but as I don't know if he's in the chat tonight, Darth BS 101 Anton, he did a comment somewhere and he's like, they're not designed for that. They are literally one coat. You put your one coat on, you're done. And I've seen some examples. Yeah, and I've seen some examples at the Lost Ark Games in Stevenage, great place. John there, he's painted some of the Irish, I don't know, Irish Klansmen or whatever from something. I don't know what they are, Dark Age dudes. And they look really good. They're all right. And they're straight out. They're quite vivid, vibrant colours, but not too vibrant.
It's mainly primary colours they've got at the moment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I don't know why they did that, because they've previewed the mega set, but they've only brought out a starter set version of it, which is, as you say, primary colours. But it's all right.
I suppose you could always give a spray varnish after the.
Yeah, I think it's very much. Yeah, I think it's very much getting used to the techniques and figuring them out. But I can imagine a lot of miniatures are going to be wrecked, well, not wrecked, but fumbled and stripped before anyone figures it out properly.
Yeah, and I think that's my problem with contrast. Is not I hear great things about it. The problem is I hear great things about all kinds of things in painting, and I've tried to do all kinds of things with my painting, and it rarely works out for me. And there's just like, you're talking about something that I can already do, and you're telling me now I could do it different.
Yeah,
but I can already do this.
Yeah. So why change it? It's not broke.
Well, why risk changing it? I guess is probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Anyway, Callum, contrast paints, mate. Any thoughts? Have you used them? What's the deal?
I've got a tub of one of the browns which I use for. Well, I got it to do the French packs for your French guys, actually.
Right.
And then I used it for those, and then I used it for the Skaven fur, and then dry brush over it with a lighter brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I've not really invested in any of the other colours. I know a lot of people use it for horses, and I hate painting cavalry, So if I get into cavalry big time again for some project, I might invest in them. But apart from that, no.
And Duncan, contrast.
Well, I use some for I use primary colors for 28mm on like monsters. It's like squigs and things, just really bright bold colors.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually used it for some 10mm Northwest Frontier, Afghans and Brits.
Right.
And that worked quite well because it really was super quick. Splash it, I'd get a bit more contrast than you would just from flat paints at that scale.
Yeah.
I didn't use kind of zenithal at that time. Maybe I should. That might have even accentuated it a bit more. But it worked quite well because especially I was using like scarves and things in bright orange and flags that really stood out.
Right. So you want you were using those bright colors on the flags. You were getting the high contrast there. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But I'm not a big fan. I've seen some examples of both speed paint and contrast paint up close.
Yeah,
and I don't know, they look fantastic, like any paint does when you put it kind of on the tabletop from a distance. Up close, they still look, I don't know, like you're not saving as much time or as much effort. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much time you are. Whether is it worth the investment? I mean, I think there's certainly there's probably areas where if you're painting historical 28mm miniatures, which are where most of the miniature is wearing fabric and got some wooden weapons, then it probably is much quicker in terms of that sort of one and done tabletop ready. I can definitely see that, and there's much more. If you're painting 16th and 17th century pikemen and arquebusiers, they're in quite bright colours or something. I can see that working. And I've seen a lot of people like John mentioned, like for wood, and Callum mentioned for backpacks. When what you're painting is to give you those kind of natural fabrics or whatever, that does seem to work.
I think the other thing to bear in mind is that look at the company that brought them out and what they brought them out to do. This isn't like Army Painter who brought out paints to paint a wider range of things from biblical times through to sci-fi. This is Games Workshop brought it out to paint Games Workshop figures.
Although they're terrible for Space Marines.
No, I'm just saying, that's I think thing you have to bear in mind is what they were designed to paint.
Yeah, and it was to get noobs to get painting. Yeah. Ultimately, let's not beat around the bush. That was pretty much the primary intention. A lot of people have done some amazing things with it, though. A lot of glazing work, and I've seen some real professional jobs done with it. But is it? Yeah, I don't know. It's what you make of it, I guess.
I find his lack of beard disturbing. Yeah, contrast paints. I mean, if I guess if you're starting from scratch as well, like you say, it gets you something straight away.
I know some people paint figures with the stuff, the pound in a pot stuff,
Yeah. I'm certainly not. I'm saying that. I often paint scenery with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but no, they get good outcomes as well with that cheaper paint. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is the pigment's not as fine. So the smaller your miniatures, the bigger the problem is, that you're more likely to get a texture to it. Sometimes use contrast paint as the base coat and wash stages if I'm in a hurry. Yeah, I think Jason said something similar to that before.
True fact. All the things.
Take 2 bottles into the shower. Yeah, just both look head and shoulders.
Oh, I thought you meant a paint then. I was very confused.
Yeah,
it's meaning contrast paint. It's a base coat and a wash, I think. Yeah.
Just the men contrast.
Getting some coffee. What's about horses? Painting them as well. Any tips? Oh, painting horses. I don't get it, but then I'm not a high quality painter. because when I paint horses, I look at all of the different browns I have for all of the military colors and paint each one a different brown. I then put Agrax Earthshade on, and I then go back to that same paint and add a little bit of yellow or white and paint the muscle tones on the legs. And I find that they look absolutely fine. If you paint better than that, then it might be a problem. But actually, if you're a mediocre painter, I don't see it as difficult. Personally, John, horses.
Horses, I've only painted a few. I've got some on the go that have been on the go forever, but yeah, very much. I actually use contrast for these ones. Not that you can really see in any detail, but it was one coat. I then dry brushed it a lot with similar colored browns to try and keep the definition. But normally I do it the other way: base coat, wash, and then work my way back up using the definition of the model. I think it's daunting because there's just, I mean, monsters. There's bigger stuff out there to paint, but for some reason, I don't know. There's a lot. There's 4 legs, right, and a tail. That's for sure. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Callum, you've painted horses, surely many.
Yes, I mean, I say I hate painting horses. It's more I burnt myself out doing an entire 3,000 point Bretonian army and having to get under all the cloth armor and getting under the armor to do the legs and the stomach and do all that sort of stuff. Where I've painted officers on horses for my regiments and stuff, I found it enjoyable, but that's a singular guy, you know. So I think it's more I burnt myself out painting horses than I hate painting them.
That's fair. We've not really given any tips yet. Duncan, you must have some tips. You're pro.
I was just going to say on this one, because it was a direct question to which there's a very simple answer. Is it best to prime white or grey than black when using contrast? Yeah, you need a very, very light prime for these to work. They're quite thin. They don't leave a great deal of pigment behind. You need to be white, really.
I've had some success over Zandri Dust, believe it or not, with contrast. It doesn't hate that, but it does like smoother primers, like the 2 that they bought out, Wraithbone and the other one, whatever, I can't remember, Greyseer. But they're quite vibrant with that. You got to play around. Just play around. Fact.
I've known people to zenithal, as Duncan mentioned earlier. So that's where you spray a light color from your sun direction, which is usually the top, and a dark one from the opposite direction, and then the contrast will pick out the natural highlights and lowlights.
Tell us about your horses, Duncan. Surely you've had a bit.
I'm not a pro at all with horses. I do 2 things. One is something Callum just mentioned, which is barding. Only use horses with barding, and there's less horses.
Right, that's good shout.
Or especially if you've got a large unit of horses, focus on the riders, like distract with the riders.
Right.
Yeah.
Only focus on like the horse's face, basically, because if you give them like a white muzzle or any of those markings, that's what people are going to look at. It's the same with faces and flags and things. It's
faces and bases.
Yeah, exactly. Faces and bases. It's focus on those things that people are going to look at. You see a unit of pistoliers or something. You don't look at the horses. You look at the guns. You look at the riders.
Right. I mean, I'm a little bit nervous about what you just said, given that you're painting 2 cavalry regiments for me.
Don't look too closely at the
Don't look at the cavalry.
my other tip is to paint at 10 mil or below. Then it really doesn't matter how good the horse looks.
To be fair, everything's brown in this army. So
everything is brown, including the horses. Yeah. But with those, it'll be the lance pennants, won't it? Those iconic red and white flags will really help, because First War cavalry still carrying lances, mate. That's how this war's going to be won. Let's do it.
Yeah, but I mean, watch Martin Seventh Son's stuff on painting his
contrast.
War of the Roses stuff. I was going to say, where he talks about painting the horses, and it's literally, he breaks it down so well. I don't think there's a better guide out there.
We got pictures though, haven't we? Because Duncan went to Hammerhead,
yeah,
which is in Newark, and he took lots of pretty pictures. to show us. So let's see if I can find the pretty pictures. Probably should start by opening the pretty pictures.
Just to clarify, of the show. He sent you pictures of the show, yes?
Oh, is that what you wanted?
Nearly there. Here we go. Boom! That worked.
Oh,
Right.
Ooh, hello.
Douche.
So tell us what we're looking at here, Duncan.
You'll have to forgive me for the people who put all these different games on. I did mark their names actually in the titles, but
Shall I tell you what they are and then you can talk about it? Does that?
no, it's okay. I know what most of them are. This is a game for a very British Civil War. It's kind of a battle of these bridges. I think it's called Battle of the Bridges, with British fascists on one side against all the different factions on the other. This is probably one of the largest tables there.
Like a pro, you've got people out where you've got their faces.
They did have a very not strict, but they were raising people's personal data and privacy and so on. So I try to be careful.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that's how that guy looks in real life.
I think he did. I think he did.
I was going to say, I thought he was just on the fencing team.
There's a few more to come. Very British Civil War. Then this called the Battle of the Bridges, as you say. But it's a curious one. I mean, I've looked into it, and it's not a system. It's a concept, right?
I believe there's a rule system as well. But yeah, it's basically a concept. I'm not too familiar with it.
So it's sort of set in the 1930s, I think, in England, envisaging all of the various factions that are vying for world domination in the 20s and 30s. So the fascists, the communists, and so forth. But it's got a real kind of gangland sort of feel to it, hasn't it? It's you can play like a Chinese mafia or Irish revolutionaries or whatever you want. If you can say that this was a political movement in the 1930s, you can build an army around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen people be really creative with it and use things like Morris men as units and things like that. Really play up the Britishness of it.
There was one in War Games Illustrated, I think, where they had a load of cricket guys running around with like cricket bats.
Yeah.
That's epic.
And it's very much like the better bits of Kill Team, which you saw more in the last editions. It's much more about building your own idea of what an interesting army is, rather than them actually being very good. It's the kit bashing and model making. So not just what you get by having the Dad's Army Butcher van on a bolt action board. It's that gone up to 11, isn't it? It's very British.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can definitely see why people are into it. So that's a big demo game going on there, right?
Yeah, I think this was the biggest table I saw there. It was
massive.
Next, another game I've been interested in but not got round to committing to yet.
So this was Chesterfield Open Gaming. They did Blood and Plunder. So this is a kind of 3-part table for Blood and Plunder with a town on one side, ships moving in the middle, and then this kind of jungle scene. And this table is full of details.
Go on, give us a zoom. Give us a zoom, Kaiser.
You want a zoom?
Give us a zoom. Oh, zoomy zoom.
Dudes fighting in the village with the locals. And then you've got your old school range sticks because tape measures are 2 pro.
2 pro. Fact.
Battles, and then your European settlement at the other side.
Hey,
this is all set in like Pirates a la Caribbean type era, isn't it?
Golden Age piracy stuff, yeah.
Where do you store that after you've played the game?
Away from the wife.
At your club, I think.
True.
So that's Blood and Plunder. This one?
I didn't catch the system for this, but this was just a zombie apocalypse game.
Surely that's World War Z or whatever it's called, Project Z. It's not Project Z because I'm seeing some stat cards and stuff up here. Look, and some crazy range rulers.
Zombicide.
Oh yeah.
It could be Zombicide. I've never seen it played or played it.
I'm just thinking of all the zombie games.
Yeah, there's probably people in the chat saying that. So
That's a nice setup, though.
Well, this is an interesting point about this, and don't take this the wrong way. Don't think I'm being like overly critical. This is a good illustration of the impact of mass on a war games table. Is that there's so many bits here that it looks great, but actually, you zoom down to it, the individual pieces. This tree is weird as hell. So is this one, and these buildings are really quite basic. But
yeah,
no.
Look at it overall.
The overall effect is awesome.
But it's got, I think, one of the most important bits for a board is that it's storytelling. You feel that's a viable part of a city because there's the petrol station, there's the bus shelters, there's the scrapyard. So it's not just carbon copy repeat of the same building. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what sells it.
Yeah, because I very much felt this about your man who does so much scratch building, Hengist. His individual pieces, they're all right, but the overall effect is awesome. Yeah. And I think sometimes we've got the piece in front of us. We're like, I'm not really happy with this thing. Mate, just keep going and make some more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this, I think I might know this guy. So this is Lancaster War Games Society, and this is is this stuff 15 mil?
No, I don't think so. It's 28. I think the tripods at the top are 10 mil. They're from Pendragon.
Right.
Their limited sci-fi range. But he was playing a random mix of forces, repelling them with a very simplified kind of chain of command system. But
It's
this,
very
I think,
War
was
of the
the
Worlds.
first game I sat down to play and just absolutely.
Oh, you played this one, did you?
Yeah, absolutely demolished the tripods as they were coming in. But the guy was very kind of helpful, talking through all the kind of options and what we could do within chain of command. And like Callum just mentioned with the other one, it's just a very narrative kind of experience.
All right.
So sorry, I was just going to say, are your soldiers just like normal Earth soldiers, or are they because Atlantic have just released their like colonials and space stuff, haven't they?
No, they were Earth soldiers. I think they were kind of like Foreign Legion. Some of them. There's some Sikh soldier. I think the next picture's got a bit more a close up.
Oh, sorry.
We had Italian rifle grenadiers and a few other things. So it's a bit of a mix of everything.
Oh, look at these Sikhs. Beautiful.
Oh, very nice. No, I'd say they're one-piece medals.
So how did you find Chain of Command then? I've never played it. It's obviously on the 1 day list. One day I'll get to it.
This was very simplified, so it wasn't. I think Chain of Command uses a lot of you roll dice and then essentially assign them based on what they unlock, based on what commanders you have, what level of command you have.
Yes.
This was more kind of assigning them to units and just getting people to do what you want them to do.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I think for a show, Chain of Command's quite a hefty rule set to kind of jump in. Except the two fat laddies were there actually showing it off on their own table. That's probably the only people you want to play it with at a show.
A lardy game.
All right. So this one.
This is it's called The Last Stand of George Thomas. This is a muskets and tomahawks game. It's this huge city just being attacked with artillery, and you see these guys storming the walls and everything.
Why are they going up there when there's a great big hole in it?
That is a legit question.
I would say Indian Rebellion.
That's what I thought, but if you look at the next picture, there's the view from the other side of the table, which is
look at that.
Maybe not then.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sure if this was an actual piece that was
or just a statue.
Moving, or just a statue. Yeah, but
it was a toy or an ornament or something. Terrifying though. It gives it a real Sinbad feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, massive.
Immediately, you're just like, okay, this is Sinbad, brilliant.
But I love how like you can do that. You could just like take a model like that and put it next to your historical army, and bam, you've got a fantasy setting.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love how you can sometimes do that.
Yeah. But again, this board, as you look around it, what makes it so good? There's all these knickknacks, you know, this little sort of carriage over here, this little wagon here. These things really bring the board to life, and it's one of the things that I'm trying to do more of for our tables is to start assembling those knickknacks to give them the feeling that they're alive. Right, I think we all know what this is.
So this was Bolt Action. This was actually the game run by Ken the Eccentric Man.
Look at this!
Oh, Ken Bulldog, yeah, Lost Ark. Lost Ark War Games.
So this was
they won an award for this, didn't they?
They're Crusader miniatures, I think.
Yeah.
Or Artisan. They look.
Artisan. These are Artisan ones.
These are Artisan, I think. I've got Black Tree and Artisan in my collection, and some of these models look familiar. Yeah, I mean, you can usually tell Ken's stuff because he's got a really clean painting style. But it does the job, and he cranks them out. It's just look at this, you know, the highlight on the rifle there just does the job. It's not overdone, and it has I think has a really nice aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
this table's a great example of what you just said as well. If you go to the next one, of just that table dressing, just details everywhere.
Yeah, and the butcher's van, which I was talking about before.
But even things like there's a telephone pole there, but there's only one. It's not everywhere. It's not crammed in to make it real, but there's just enough to make it feel real.
Yeah. I mean, this playground looks brilliant. Do you know if that was scratch built?
No,
you can get
it looks MDF, doesn't it? Actually,
PT Combat.
Yeah, because he did a load of videos about doing that in the church.
On
his channel.
I remember him talking about the church.
Right, so it's fun to sit and go, I saw that being built.
Right. A great game with
and this is part of the same. Oh, these are the Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts who witnessed the Forschmega arriving, and then they flee to the church to ring the bell, but the bell's broken. It needs to be, or the ropes are broken. They need to be repaired. So basically, you have to beat them there or open fire on the children. And at which point the guys on the tower can start firing back at you. So you make that decision and kind of go, but as the Germans, we just decided, let's just race them there.
Yeah. And
it came down, I think our game and the previous game that they ran came down to the first draw of the new turn. Who goes first wins the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were outside of the door to the church, and the scouts were in there ready to repair the final piece of rope on that last dice.
It's because scouts know how to tie knots.
Really well. You've got the ARP warden down there as well. Nice.
Yeah, no, there were tons of characterful things. They had cards with the different characters on to kind of trigger special abilities and stuff. It was good.
Yeah, they do some good demo games. We saw them at, I think, Salute, and we saw them at Selwig, I think. Right,
this is their go on.
So this is Mias Miniatures. They had a demo of their skirmish game called Darklands. So Mias Miniatures are like 32 mil, lots of resin, lots of very, very expensive resin. So these huge centerpiece models, and they just look fantastic. But yeah, if you zoom in on these, the detail's so crisp.
Beasts, but they are not cheap.
No, I'm sure they're not.
There's a perfect
they're large models and they're in resin.
The smaller metals weren't too bad. They're about £5 each for the smaller metals. So
there's a perfect use for your contrast there on the snake skin.
Yeah.
Snakes.
Snake skin.
That's a snake with snakes for legs.
Snake with snakes for legs. Awesome though, right? Right. And this is
I think Peterborough War Games put this on. I think this was for you, really, Kaiser. I think these are 54 mil.
54 mil.
What you mentioned before about doing skirmish in larger size. You can tell because some of the tanks aren't quite up to that scale, but
yeah, I can see that. I want to get into 54mm as my eyesight fails as I get older.
The models get bigger and bigger.
Models get bigger, mate. Yeah, absolutely. So you can see here. Look, this is the snag with it is how many times are you seeing the same model repeated? You know, that's definitely a problem.
Like I say, the problem with larger scales tends to be about having the same quality to the models as you do with the smaller scales. Quite a lot of the larger scales lose a bit of the quality.
Which you'd think would be the opposite way, right?
I think, well, nowadays, I think you can get individual 54mm resin miniatures that are like 12 quid each, and they're magnificent. But, you know, that's a very expensive way to build an army.
You can always, if you've got 3D printer, scale up, I suppose. But
well,
True.
Then you are going to have fidelity issues and scale problems. Canteen in 10mm needs to be really big so you can see it. On a 54mm miniature, it's going to look like it's got an extra butt cheek. But yeah, I do like this because it does show. I would just have a third the number of miniatures playing a very different kind of skirmish game. Something I want to look at more. Anyway, very different. Look at that.
Yeah,
What
this
is
is
that?
Stargrave. Using lots of 3D printed stuff and 3D printed miniatures and terrain. But this group had this, and they had a Burrows and Badgers game, which unfortunately I don't have a photo of, but which with some crazy giant mushrooms, lots of trippy stuff.
Nice.
But they were very kind of family orientated and welcoming. Really good group to kind of talk to. This is a Sword Point demo.
Sword Point, yes. Yeah. So anybody who's into Medieval Warriors, is it Medieval Warrior? Nick, the Greek guy who does lots of Sword Point coverage at the moment, and 100 Years War stuff in general.
That is magnificent. Look at all of that. Talking of horses, look, they've all got barding.
What horses?
Exactly.
War horses. Indeed.
Exactly.
Both.
Indeed. This is why people had Bretonnian Warhammer armies, right? This is the look they wanted.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at that edition, like not the latest edition, but the Perry sculpture one. You look at their 100 Years War stuff. You're like, did they just nick the molds on the way out?
Or maybe they made them.
Well, yeah, they sculpted the Brits, didn't they? So.
Did they?
Yeah, they sculpted the Bretonians for Warhammer.
Right. I didn't know what particular things they'd made. Right. So Sword Point. Yeah. This one.
This is the chain of command demo from the Two Fat Lardies. So again, this has just got lots of nice small details that really built the flavour of that table.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've got something going at the moment, which is like 2mm Ancients.
Yeah, there was a demo that's Strength and
Honor. That's what it's called. Yeah.
There was a demo, but I didn't get to watch it played, unfortunately.
But he's been making videos about the terrain. I think I found with the Lardy stuff, they do work on their battlefield, and something you don't see very much in more modern war game sets. Most of their rule sets have this is how you work out what terrain you're going to have. You divide the board up into sections and you roll a dice, and this is what's going to be where. Which is an interesting way of looking at it, and I had wondered about getting some of that stuff because I'm often concerned that our boards start to look very samey, because I think when confronted with the same pieces, we put them in the same places. Because that's kind of how they fit. Whereas if I had some kind of external arbitrator saying you need to put a forest over there, I'd have to start rethinking how the boards work.
Yeah, that's a fair point, that.
So did you play Chain of Command with Rich then, or?
I didn't. Just got to watch some other people playing this game, but I did. Yeah, got to have a quick chat to Nick from the Two Fat Laddies.
Yeah, and it's always good to see a burning Bren carrier in the middle of a board. That's a scenery that we often have. Right, this one's called Unknown.
Yeah. I think this and the next picture. I didn't get the group's names and what the game actually was, but they were suitably epic to capture on film.
Yeah, I mean the scale of it. Look at that. That's a big old battle.
Loads going on.
Very nice.
I'm loving the Indian wall.
So yeah.
And again, I think this is Romans and
Romans.
This is a Roman army against a Greek army of some description. Look at all
of that.
Not sure.
Hannibal, maybe?
And that's 28.
Well, if it's Hannibal, then that's very odd.
Well, no, I just saw elephants earlier. That's why I was saying.
There's no elephants. There's pikemen.
But there wasn't the
No,
last
that was a different game, yeah.
That was the other game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said these two photos are the same game. Sorry.
No, they're both called Unknown.
Then look at that! World War One. Boom.
Yeah, and I think they called it Wings of Glory, but it's Wings of War they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
It just caught my eye immediately. I had no idea what was going on. Seeing these, what turns out to be clouds as models.
Yeah.
Wings of Wee.
But this was drawing in families as well.
Balloons. Believe it or not, in terms of how many kills you get or whatever as a pilot recorded, shooting down a balloon counts as a kill in World War One. That seems a bit easier than shooting an airplane.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot that balloon, man. What's that bit coming out of the balloon?
It's a basket with people in it.
Is it?
Yes.
I think
it's a tail fin.
Protrusion.
Yes, that. What is that all about?
Sorry, I think meant it underneath.
It's the tail fin, I think.
It's a stabilizer.
Okay, we'll go with that. Perhaps it's just the
angle. Are they really bright yellow though?
Probably not. No, probably not. Well, that was those. So that was Hammerhead. So how and I don't know how many shows you go to. I'd looked at going, and it was just a bit too far. It took a bit too long and cost a bit too much. What did you think of it as a show? How did it compare with some of the others?
It was good. It was kind of my first show for a long time, obviously. So lots been going on. But it was busy. Everyone was really positive. It seemed very open again to families and people trying things, and everyone was up for talking. I think everyone's had so many, had so long not being able to just catch up with people and just talk, be nerdish, and just chat. But yeah, it was a really good experience, really good day out. Lots going on. I think Partisan's coming up in a few months in the same place, so I look to go to that.
Important question: are we going to see a Luke video?
No, because I didn't get very much. I can show you what I got if you got time. Actually, I'll show you the one big thing I got. Which I've been looking for a long time. I was a big fan of Epic when I started wargaming a long time ago, and I don't really want to get back into it in the same way. But I've been looking for this for a long time.
Horizon Wars.
Osprey 6mm. Well, Osprey sci-fi can be 6mm. To give that same vibe on a smaller table.
Same but different.
Scale, same but different. Grab that. Just stocked up on like brushes and everything.
So why that particular one rather than something like Drop Zone Commander? I know Callum's quite into his Drop Zone Commander. What is it about that Osprey one that appeals to you?
Miniature agnosticism, I think. Looking at companies like Vanguard Miniatures do some great 6mm and 3mm. Drop Zone Commander I do like, except none of the races really jump out at me as being things I want to collect, which is a problem I have with 40k as well. So it's just having that freedom.
You like Space Marines? Come on, man.
Not really. I find it hard that whenever I come to think I want to jump back into 40k.
Yeah,
I sit there thinking who would I pick? Same with Fantasy Battles, really. I don't know. It's just none of them going to jump out. And I've been working with things for Dragon Rampant and Lion Rampant. I just love that freedom to choose any manufacturer, any model, and stick it together.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I've missed so many of the comments because when I'm doing the photographs, I'm kind of distracted. So if you asked a profound question and it hasn't been answered, I'm really sorry. We are getting close to the end of the show, guys, but we do also have some pictures from Callum. Should we show Callum's pictures?
Oh, we can skip those then, right?
Yeah. Show them 2 months later.
I'm determined to not do this to Callum. I guess I've done that once before.
There's only 4 of them.
Callum, here we go. What? Look at them. Beautiful.
Oh, much better than the French ones.
That's the first 10 redcoats for Johnny.
Very nice.
Minus 5 backpacks, which got finished tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But
so this is another job. You're doing these for the channel, and this is going to be Johnny B's army for probably chosen men we talked about, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's those guys all painted up.
What happened to Charlie Brown? What happened to Charlie Brown there? On the left. Why has he got really brown pants?
Oh, in that, because they're peninsular, and so sometimes their trousers wore out, and they just got Portuguese cloth to make their own trousers, and it was brown cloth.
Okay, so not an accident.
No.
But look at these. These are not for me.
Nope, these are mine. These are my first 5 Napoleonic Marines for my Hornblower army, set around the Battle of Quiberon Bay.
And where are these models are from? These are metal models from Perry's, right?
Yes, yeah. So the redcoats are Plastic Warlord, and the Marines are Perry's miniatures.
Nice.
And
looking.
How do they compare in scale to one another? The Marines
are
big screen.
About the same.
Oh, well, yeah, I was on another screen looking at the pictures. Here we go.
About the same.
They're about the same.
Is this Warlord versus Perry, is it?
Yeah.
Because I find the Perry ones seem to be a little bit slender in sort of stature. You'll notice the arms there, where Warlord are a little bit more heroic, big hand fists, massive noggins.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Perrys are more anatomically correct, but you're not going to really notice, I think, on the table.
No. Once you put them to side by side and painted much like the boards, this is a lovely. Let's see what we can see in the background for Callum here. Hey.
Right, so now I've made Duncan big now. I'm clicking the wrong buttons. So where did you get up to with your hobbying tonight, John?
I have sorted through the Tyranids, and I can tell you, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there's a lot of stuff. So my brother's going to be very happy, as it will join his swarm and eat my Ultramarines. So there you go.
Very nice. Callum?
I finished the backpacks and got the varnish on them.
Beautiful.
Varnish. It's like finished, done, move on.
Yep, and I got some markings on some badges.
Markings on badges.
Yep.
Duncan?
I've got two buildings primed, ready to go.
2 buildings.
Beautiful.
Do you paint on primer? You hand paint, you don't spray it?
Well, I'm kind of preoccupied with doing a live stream at the moment, so
that's no excuse.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm too tired. I don't want to do anything else that requires any thought.
I painted the flag pink. What's it called? Emperor's Children is going to take a lot more coats than I realized, and it's getting that.
Really?
You sometimes get that sort of rubbery texture when you've got paint on. I'm not sure whether it needed shaking more, whether the pigment balances out.
Yeah, some of them are a bit different. No consistency in the paints. Well, there is consistency, but different consistencies.
I got some color on this. So this is so that we can have a World of Tanks and Miniatures game with Panthers. I'm painting the third one here.
Pink
So
one.
that will be the next World of Tanks game. I was just checking the schedules up. 22nd of March, guys. So the next time we have a live show, 2 weeks on Tuesday, we've got Stuart from Great Escape Games is going to come on. I'm really excited about that. He does a lot of their rules. He's the guy that I spoke to at Selwig. And obviously, Duncan here is painting the 2 World War I starter armies that they do for their game 1914. I haven't looked at it in great detail, but I looked at their other game, which I forget what it's called. And it seems it seems like a nice, simple, fairly straightforward rule set, but with some command and control aspects to it. So something, not really chain of command, but not quite Flames of War either. Something somewhere in between. And if their First World War games like that, I feel pretty good about it.
Nice. Very good.
Dear me.
Subs is great show. Thank you, Subs.
So if you've got questions for Stuart, because they do that Wild West thing, don't they? That's like probably they're most well known for it. What's the game?
Somebody spew out some names. I can't remember. Dead Man's Hand. Is that them?
Dead Man's Hand, is it? Yeah. And another thing that I mentioned last week, the guy who's taken over from the license for Test of Honor, who's also doing this 0-200 hours. So is he, I sent him, we exchanged messages last week. He is sending the stuff through. It's going to be more like April, May before War Games Atlantic have got the miniatures, but he's got some proof copies of his rule set. He's going to send that. He's also going to send us a set of Test of Honor to review. And actually, Test of Honor, when I looked at it, I'm not massively into feudal Japan. It's not really my thing. But the Tokugawa Shogunate is just about killing everybody and just being the last man standing, isn't it? So I think I could probably get a bit into that. And he's gonna send us some stuff to review, and it's like very similar to Mortal Gods. It's very small armies.
The Test of Honor rules are lovely, and you've played Mortal Gods, so you'll know the rules really.
Yeah, exactly. We're more likely to run the problems where the bits where it's not quite the same, because it came before Mortal Gods, but it's reasonably familiar. And they've certainly got that system where there is the capacity for weaker units to achieve something. So I'm quite excited about those things. In fact, if Test of Honor is like Mortal Gods, I think we should all build a warband and we should play, each we should do little bits.
Yeah, man.
Finished World War I Japanese for War Games Atlantic. I don't think they've announced that they do those, do they, Jason?
He loves doing that. He loves doing that.
Have they announced?
Spoiler.
World War I Japan. Japan was on our side in World War I, by the way, for anyone that didn't know. Any final thoughts, John? You like to have thoughts, don't you?
Occasionally. No, there's nothing there.
There's nothing in there. Callum, anything from you?
No, I felt there was some interesting points about bridles on horses, but apart from that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed a lot of the chats following that. I've really enjoyed looking at those, stuff from Duncan Centers from Hammerhead. Duncan, remind the beautiful people at home where they can find your channel, and where they can try and get you to paint their miniatures for money, that kind of stuff.
Not going to happen. My YouTube channel is called DuncanFX. I'm on Facebook. I'm on various other bits of social media. Covering hobby stuff. I've got some more 10 mil coming up soon, specifically some fantasy stuff. So if anyone's interested in that, come over to my channel, have a look. And I'm covering this 1914 stuff for the Kaiser.
All right. So you've reviewed the British 1914 stuff, and you've made some progress on the painting. I know that because you've showed them to me. If you haven't seen them, genuinely, I keep saying it, but those 12 mil sculpts from War Games Atlantic, they are very nice. Oh, here you go. He's showing them. He won't probably do it justice on.
Look at that, little dubros.
So clean though. Just taking them out the bag, they were just such nice looking sculpts.
Yeah,
very nice. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it from us. If you don't know, on the Modeling for Advantage Facebook page, We do put up, you know, what you can expect to see in March. So we're going to have some Flames of War North Africa. We're going to have a Flames of War battle, and we're going to try and get a World of Tanks game in as well. Check us in 2 weeks' time for the Stuart from War Games Atlantic. In the meantime,
awesome.
Take care. Thank you for watching. Be seeing you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.